seen unfolding violence on the campus of KNUST. Government has been meeting over this within that period. Now we have a firm decision. The breaking news we're getting this afternoon is that government has, with immediate effect, dissolved the KNUST Governing Council, and instead it has put in place a 7-member interim council. It has also directed that the university reopens within 14 days. We know the university has been shut in the wake of the violence that unfolded on campus, and the university will open in 14 days to enable academic work to continue. Now, the interesting thing, the interim council, chaired by Nana Efa Pentin, Paramount Chief of Bompata Traditional Area, has a 3-month tenure. So they'll have 3 months to sort of regularize affairs at the school, continue with the dialogue with the students, and after 3 months, the decision will be made whether to make that governing council a permanent one or completely move it and install a different one. It follows briefs and recommendations made by the Minister for Education. So this is based on recommendations made by Honorable Dr. Martin Opoku Prempeh, who led a high-powered ministerial delegation to the Ashanti region. And that delegation included the Minister for National Security, Honorable Albert Kandapa, and the Minister-designate for Information, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, and they met the various stakeholders, the Regional Security Council, they met the Vice Chancellor, they met some of the student unions and alumni, and they deliberated on this. It's after this that a recommendation was made by Dr. Martin Opoku Prempeh to the President, by the way, because the President has the power to appoint the Governing Council, and the decision has been made this afternoon to dissolve the KNUST Council. Now, the view of the university management, as the delegation observed, was that and this is from the meeting that they've been having over the last 2 days following the riots. The view of the university management to the delegation was that increasingly there had been acts of wayward behavior, hooliganism, and incidents of violence on campus, and hence the need to take steps to protect life and property. That was the first thing the delegation sought to achieve. Now, the position of the student leadership, and this is just recounting the various positions as was articulated in the meetings that the delegation had. The position of the student leadership was that the issues go beyond the university's policy to convert all the halls of residence into mixed-sex halls. It also emerged further that the students felt oppressed by some policies of the university authorities, and that they lived in fear. Also, they believed they did not have enough opportunities for conflict resolution and dialogue with the authorities, resulting in a breakdown of trust between students and the authorities. Now, government's immediate priority, and this is all part of a statement that we are just getting, government's immediate priority is to expedite the reopening of the university to ensure a smooth return to academic work. This view is shared, government says, by the university's lecturers, and we're trying to see if we can get the mother union for the lecturers on the phone just to get their reaction to what is unfolding right now. Government is also mindful, it says, of an adverse international image the country would suffer if the university remained closed for a protracted period, especially given the substantial number of foreign students at KNUST. And just to put that in context, when the school was shut down, the only group of people who were allowed on campus were international students, and they were given police and military protection. Government again says, government has been advised by the Ashanti Regional Security Council that without a resolution of the relevant matters, it will not be safe to reopen the university. The ministry took the view, and this is Education Ministry, took the view that the Governing Council was not in a position to review its own processes and decisions affecting the student body to guarantee peace. And this is a very important point, because the decision to convert the single sex halls into mixed halls is a decision that was taken by the Governing Council. And if that is the root cause of the problem, if you put them back in charge, this is their own decision. Are they in a position to review a decision that they themselves have taken and reverse it? Government says the best way out of this is to have a new interim governing council in place, dissolve the council that took the decision, and put a new one in, fresh perspectives, so they can re-engage and get the issues resolved. But there's far more information that we're also getting from the statement issued by government. it says that because of the belief that the previous governing council cannot sort of review and withdraw its own decision, the Ministry of Education recommended to government the suspension of the University Governing Council and the establishment of an interim council. The government subsequently directed the suspension of the KNUC Governing Council and the establishment of a 7-member interim management committee chaired by the Naifa Apenting, paramount chief of Bompata Traditional Area. Now, the IMC, which was inaugurated earlier today, and in fact, we are waiting pictures of the inauguration. It has already been inaugurated.
So it has already been
inaugurated, yeah. So this has been happening in the last few hours, behind closed doors, behind public prying, etc. But now we are getting to know of it. In fact, my sources in government say in the next few hours or minutes, possibly, we should get pictures confirming the swearing in of the governing council, which has already happened. Now, it also says that it has, and we've talked about the period, 3-month mandate, to sort of, first of all, investigate all outstanding matters in order to expedite the reopening of the university. Government says unreservedly condemns the damage to private public property during the disturbances as unacceptable and in any circumstances, and states for emphasis that those found culpable following investigations will be surcharged accordingly. And so this is also fresh information. So the students who are found culpable will be surcharged. They have to pay for the damage. And it ends by saying it is the expectation of government that the IC Interim Council will work assiduously per its terms of reference, culminating in the early reopening of university to restore normalcy. So if you're just joining us, a breaking news story coming out of both the University of Ghana but also in government circles is that the KNUST Governing Council has been dissolved with immediate effect. We also know that already an interim council has already been appointed and sworn in. We are waiting pictures just to confirm that, and they're going to have a 3-month period within which to work, but the university is scheduled to reopen in 14 days. That's the breaking news.
Where does this place Professor Kwesi Obiri-Danso, the Vice-Chancellor?
He definitely will have to remain in post. I mean, the thing is, he's the Vice-Chancellor. The Vice-Chancellor's position is very protected by law. And so the president cannot go in and say, I'm sacking the Vice-Chancellor, right? And so what will happen is that the Governing Council, he will have to work with the Governing Council. So from clearly what has happened today, the Vice-Chancellor's position, and there's no mention, if you see the statement, there's no mention of the current Vice-Chancellor in the statement, but the presidency, the government is doing what they are allowed to do by law, which is the Governing Council is the appointment of the Governing Council is the prerogative of the government. But once you appoint the Vice-Chancellor, his tenure is secured. So you cannot touch him unless they state the ground of misbehavior and all of the things that we know the law will normally provide for. So he will remain in position. What we don't know is, and we need to clarify this going forward, what the Governing Council can do in terms of the
execution of policies, ideas, and whatnot.
And whether they have the power to either remove or keep the VC in place. Whether this new council will have the power, that we don't know. But that's something that we need to clear up going forward.
And also, especially in certain quarters where there have been conversations about, some students have actually, rooted for the removal of Professor Kwesi Obiri-Danso. Some have asked him to resign.
Yeah, the students want him to resign.
Yes,
in fact, there are members of government who believe that his position is no longer tenable. But he's not the only person who will be affected by the decision. I mean, he'll be affected by the decision to dissolve the Governing Council. Because what? He believes the mixed halls should be turned into, sort of the single halls should be turned into mixed halls.
Yeah.
And he was backed by the Governing Council. Now, with a new council in place, that decision already is no longer set in stone because this Governing Council has the power to review that decision. And government has said already that the old council could not do that, and that's why they're putting in a new Governing Council. So he'll probably be left in the place where if the Governing Council decides that we're going to withdraw what the previous council did, and he still believes that that is a policy to push forward, he'll be in conflict with the Governing Council.
Conflict of sorts.
So that is
wouldn't the Governing Council also be usurping his powers?
No, but the governing council has the power to make that decision. In fact, this is the university's position all along has been this is not a VC's position. This is the governing council's position. You know what I mean? So it's a group position that he's simply implementing. Although we know he believes in that. But let's look at members of the KNUST council that had just been dissolved, and included Professor Emeritus Kwame Sapon. He's a government nominee and chairman of the council. So he himself was a nominee of the government. Professor Kwesi Obri Danso himself, the vice chancellor, is a member of the council, right? I mean, but so that position goes, but he remains a VC. Dr. Charles Kwabena Boedu, Dr. Sai Kwejo Kankam, Abena Enchi, all government nominees to the council. Professor Isaac Kwame Donchi and Dr. Isaac Dadzi, Professor Eric Kwabena Foucault of UTAG, he's also a member of the council. David Dana, SRC, the SRC has a rep on the council. Abraham Poku Edu, Charles Arthur, Dr. Edward Baffelboni, Pak Abdul Aziz D. Kokwi, and Eunice Akosia Amwako are all members of the governing council. They ceased to exist as of a few minutes ago when the new council was sworn in. So that's a latest from on this KNUST unfolding.
I don't know how
issue.
this decision also sits with the Chancellor Tumfor, because I remember a few days back there was some news item that he had ordered for the VC and the student leaders to meet him at Menchia.
Yeah, we're expecting that meeting to happen today, but our Lab FM, our colleagues at Lab FM report to us that it doesn't appear that meeting has happened. Okay. And understandably so. If all this is happening, remember that the Otumfor is the Chancellor.
Yeah. He
will be in the know. He will have been informed that government intends to do this. And so it doesn't make sense to call stakeholders into a meeting when the key stakeholder, the governing council, is going to be dissolved. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's why the meeting hasn't happened. But let's go on the phone lines. Let's speak to the spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Vincent Safwa. Mr. Safwa, thank you for your time here on Joy 99.7 FM. From what I understand, the new governing council has already been sworn in, correct?
Absolutely, my brother.
How long ago was this?
The interim council was sworn in on or around 2 p.m. this afternoon at the premises of the Ministry of Education here in Accra.
And what happens to the Vice Chancellor?
Well, it will be within the powers of the current interim council to decide the fate of the current Vice Chancellor. It is not within the powers of the Ministry of Education to, as it were, say that the Vice Chancellor should stay or should be sacked.
And we give us a clearer sense of the terms of reference for this interim council. We know, for example, it's going to last. They're going to be there for 3 months at least. But in terms of the mandate and its terms of reference, any specifics?
Yes. Apart from the term, the 14-day duration, number one, among the term of references is that they are to assume the powers of the governing council. Number two, they are also to establish the causes of the recent student riots on campus. Number three, they are also to establish the full extent and cost of damage caused. And number four, that is the last but not the least, to resolve the differences between the university management and the student. But they are much interested in the number four because of what really transpired when we engaged the student body. Clearly, the student body was not really happy about the style of leadership of the current management. They feel that they have been oppressed, and they want some of these issues to be resolved by the ministry as soon as possible before school can even reopen.
What happens to the decision that many point to as the fundamental trigger that started all this protest, which is the conversion of the single-sex halls into mixed halls? What happens to that?
Well, it will interest you to know that at the time that we even engaged the Student Representative Council, the issues that really triggered the brutality or the demonstration that happened on Monday was not necessarily about the conversion. Of course, people can say it is also a part where it played a significant role. But what was really important about the comments or the claims that were made by the Student Representative Council was that, number one, they felt that their voices or their views are not listened to or they are not heard at the level of management. For example, if you look at the SRC accounts, students are supposed to make contributions to the SRC account, monies that are being paid almost every year. The said account is not having any representative of the SRC as a signatory to that account. Put differently, what I mean is that the SRC president nor the finance secretary is not a signatory to the account, and they do not see how this should be happening in the 21st century. They feel that this is something they call oppression, and the Ministry of Education should be able to deal with this particular matter. Again, they also felt that it cannot be possible that Hall weeks are celebrated at the same time right after medicine. So what it means is that if University Hall is celebrating its Hall week, at the same time you'll find Republic Hall, Independence Hall, Queen's Hall, and what have you also celebrating their Hall week. It does not allow external participation, and they are unable to, as it were, have the usual debate that they have, which is supposed to ensure some socialization among the students. And among these and many others, they felt that the Ministry of Education should be able to deal with these matters before school can reopen. Again, if you also look at the recommendation that came from RESEC made it very clear that we should be able to deal with the fundamental issues between the university management and the student body. If we are unable to do that, it's going to be very unadvisable for us to be able to reopen the school. And we trust the council, the interim council that has been inaugurated just this afternoon, chaired by Nana Yefa Pentin, who is the Bompata traditional chief, to be able to deal with these issues before the 14-day period that has been given to them. They also have a 3-month period to be able to exist and deal with all the terms of references that have been given to them, so that they can furnish with the ministry and the government, if you like, what they have been able to see from the investigations that were made.
I'm grateful, Mr. Safwa. He speaks for the Education Ministry. That if you're just joining us, breaking news story this afternoon, the government has decided with immediate effect to dissolve the KNUST Governing Council. A new council, an interim one, has been sworn in just about an hour ago, and they will, in the next 14 days, work to reopen the university. In fact, they have 14 days to reopen. The school will be reopened in 14 days. But in total, they'll be giving a 3-month period within which to, I guess, stabilize things on campus. And then government will make a decision what happens with a permanent council or not. And then a key question about what happens to the Vice-Chancellor. He remains in place. The Governing Council, from what we've just heard from the Education Ministry, will have the power and the responsibility to make a determination what happens to Professor Kwesi Obri-Danso going forward. But that is an area we'll be interrogating further going forward. Stay with us. This is Joy 99.7 FM.